take advice from people that I wouldn't switch places with. Relationships take you places that marketing can't. Takes you place that sales can't. Relationships take you place that management can't. Relationships take you place that contracts, threats, and fears, and quotas, and all the things, and incentives, and do this, get that kind of programs, all those things. Yeah. Relationships trump them all.
You're listening to the Sherpa Leadership Podcast, your guide to climbing higher in life and leadership. I'm Reed Moore, and alongside Chase Williams, we're here to help you break through obstacles, scale your potential, and lead with greater clarity and purpose. Hey leaders, welcome back to the Sherpa Leadership Podcast. I'm Reed Moore here with Chase Williams. We're here to help you climb higher in life and leadership. We want to introduce a great friend of ours. His name is Mike Monroe, and this is episode 2, a 2-part series with Mike Monroe. Hopefully you enjoy it. Like in philosophy, there's this idea of a false dichotomy, right? And it shows up in marriages, shows up in relationships, right? Like a marriage is struggling and it's like commit to death, right? Like just like no conversations, just or like we're out. And there's all of these gradients in between. And just thinking about like my own immaturity in leadership, where there's this tendency to either like I will do it or I will just dump it. Right. It's like here's 6 gradients. And when we show up as immature people developers, I'll take responsibility. When I show up as an immature people developer, I have the tendency just to dump. Right. Like and then other people have this tendency just to hold on, pry this out of my cold, dead hands. And I love what you're saying, because there's this process where I'm going to take people from here to here. And there's all of these stop goes, teaching moments, opportunities to correct before the cost is extravagantly high for a failure. How did you practically, have you always just done that, or how did you practically figure out, here's how I develop people?
Well, I'll go back to coaching because so much of my coaching journey has been informed and spoken into by people that demonstrated mastery. So when I hire a process coach, I mean, this is sounds a little bit of a cynical kind of rule, but I don't take advice from people that I wouldn't switch places with.
Okay.
So yeah. I'm not saying there aren't like great, like out of shape trainers, because there are, but mostly.
And that's tough.
And by the way, and that's tough. And also training is such a silly thing, because training is the exact example of what we were talking about earlier, right? Where it's like, oh, you have a 6-pack, you're going to be a trainer. And it's like, this person is not qualified, right? Like
genetically gifted.
Yeah. like that is indeed a thing, right?
Sure.
Like if you look at the diet of some professional athletes, on one hand, yeah, they burn a lot of calories. On the other hand, I couldn't eat that. And like I'd go do 3 Ironmen tomorrow and I would probably not be able to finish all those, insert food here, right?
Sure.
So the idea of installing the right process and putting that in place is to be really, really, really merciless about who I'm going to take advice from. Mm-hmm. And so I actually haven't had a leadership coach very recently, but what I have had is process coaches. In fact, I just hired one. We just hired one now. His name is Coach Mark Cosaglow, and Mark is probably the greatest sales pipeline architect I've ever heard speak and ever heard from. And it was again providential and serendipitous how this happened. One of those I can't sleep nights, so I listen to a podcast, and before I know it, I'm on his LinkedIn, and I'm reading every post he's ever read, and then I'm like writing down and taking notes and putting them in my second brain, and like I'm just poor Kaylee's over here. It's 1 a.m. I connect with the guy, and I'm like, hey, just so you know, you're the smartest dude I've ever heard on this particular topic, right? And hopefully he connects with me back, mm-hmm. and providentially, not only did he connect with me back, but he's like, I'm not trying to sell you, but I have an opening in the, like, I don't know. I'm like, oh, right. And so the power of that is a process coach in most cases. Like I hired Mark, I already know his end date. Like I hired him for a very specific period of time.
Yeah.
Which creates an urgency to make sure we get everything we need out of the process. And we're only trying to create this one outcome. And the outcome is, do I know what to do? Do we do it right? And can I do it consistently?
Yeah.
Which is a tall order for a 6-month engagement. So we both kind of planted the seed of, okay, this could go 12 months. Like, you're not going to dump me if he's launching another company that's going to be meteoric. And so, but I think I got him on the hook for a year here. But that's really, really, really important to have that.
Yeah.
And one of the things, using your dichotomy mechanism, I still do what I talked about with Ryan, where, isn't it more fun to think like that? I still have things that I post. Mm-hmm. So the board in my office, I still have things that I want to look up and see. And I'm fortunate now because, we love you, Dad, right? Like, all the things are up there too. I've got the kids' wall. But one of the things that I've had there recently written up is, both can be true.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And this is not one of the things that really, really terrifies me societally. Terrifies is a strong word, but one of the things I'm conscientious of society is this tribalism.
Oh, yeah.
That has occurred.
Very, very polarizing.
Very polarized, very over here and over here. And if you're a believer and proponent of both can be true, two things are true at the same time, then what you do is you inherently invite yourself to live in the messy middle, which means you either don't share your opinion with either of these groups, or you're surrounded by the people at these groups and you just have to not let it affect you, emotionally, spiritually, relationally, which is, kind of the order of the day. Everybody knows. But it is, to navigate the nuance of leadership, it takes a scout mindset.
What's a scout mindset?
Yeah, I love that you asked, because I'm going to do a little commercial for this book here. So the Scout Mindset it's a book by Julia Galef. Mm-hmm. And for somebody who has project autonomy and who's constantly working and failing forward as he works on project, the Scout Mindset's probably one of the most important things I think anybody in leadership can have. The idea is there is a scout, mm-hmm. and what a scout's principal function is to go map the land. So take the binoculars, look at the map. Is the mountain range where I said it was? Ooh, this river actually tucks around here and turns into a little pond. The pond's not on the map. The scout deals in truth and deals in facts. And so a scout mindset is somebody who is deeply committed to interrogating reality and discovering truth. Mm. Not what they want to be true, which is a struggle of an innovator who so badly, when they launch a program, wants it to be like, and it can tell a narrative, here's why this is going to work.
Yeah.
Right? Like, that's part of the energy behind let's do this. Unfortunately, most people in leadership approach the world with a soldier mindset. And a soldier mindset, which you could probably already surmise, is the idea of, I'm going to defend my thinking, my idea, what I believe, what I believe. And the soldier mindset is really not conducive for it. It can't coexist with great leadership.
Makes sense, right? And we've had this conversation. Chase is an outstanding person to run ideas by, and part of the reason is that when you get high on your own supply.
Yeah. That's exactly it. When you sniff your own exhaust.
Yeah.
I call it, when I talk about influencers, I'm like, oh, this guy licks his own lollipop all day long, right?
Everything he says is genius.
Yeah. Self-licking ice cream cones. Yeah.
All joking aside, we can all end up there.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Right?
Well, because there's
not the intention.
No, because there's this tension. Like, if I actually care about this, I should be able to get passionate enough to be able to push this out there.
Yeah.
But man, if I protect it from reality, there's no way the marketplace is not going to just crush it at significantly higher expense.
Yeah. Not to mention, I think when you're succeeding through others, right? Like the goal is you would earn the right to interrogate somebody's current reality in a loving way.
Yeah.
Because like you said before, like if I care enough to not let you stay where you're at and you want something different out of life or result, then hopefully I've earned the right to be a scout for you and interrogate your current reality, your current excuses, your current way of thinking, your current habits, so that I can demonstrate that there might be a better way. There might be a different truth that leads you where you want to go, right?
I, by the way, both you articulated that so much better than I did. And what I find, are you guys familiar with bike shed theory? Oh, this is great. So one of my directs taught me this. It was so good. He's like, we're going into a meeting. He's like, I want you to watch what I perceive to be the dynamics of this meeting. I wasn't briefed. I wasn't sure of, by the way, to protect the guilty. This was not a Vector Cutco meeting. This is different. You're like, wait a minute, what? So I'm going into this meeting. It's a board meeting of a thing, and he's like, this is going to be a bike shed meeting. I'm like, what do you mean? He goes, the theory of bike shed is that if you bring a bunch of people together around a conference table, and their job is to talk about and design. They've got 4 hours to design a nuclear power plant. They're going to spend 3.5 hours talking about the little bike shed that goes on the side of the nuclear power plant where employees ride their bike and where can they park. It's like, no, we need a slanted roof. Well, what if it rains? Well, we live in a windy area. Do we need, right? Like they're going to, not the important thing, not the stuff that requires, they're going to focus on what they really, really, really like insignificant crap, right?
Yeah.
And so the idea of bike shed theory is that when you get people thinking and focused on the stuff that doesn't matter, you lose. Like you lose and you lose big. The tie-in is that in moments of simplicity, small moments, project moments, is when we tend to assume the most amount of expertise. So a great example, as a marketer, it's like everybody has an opinion on marketing because everybody's exposed to marketing. Just like everybody has an opinion on a bike shed because they can visualize a bike shed and understand a bike shed even though they have no concept of what a nuclear power plant could be or should be. And so I find that the more finite and smaller the project, the more I tend to dissolve to soldier mindset. It was easy to be a student when Charles Orlando was teaching me how to be a writer, or the fella I hired after that with David Perel with Rite of Passage, who just blew my mind with what he taught me because I knew I was going into that space of being a student. But when I have a project or a thing, a small thing, it's easy to show up with a very loud, large opinion. So this is why I hire I talked about a profession coach. We talked about a process coach. This is why I hire a project coach. And a projects coach, number one job is to seek, annihilate, destroy the bottleneck things that are going to keep me from succeeding in this project.
Got it.
So for instance, we're in the middle of a book launch, and our project coach is this incredible butt-kicking gal named Amber Vilhauer. And by the way, I've put in my 10,000 hours of marketing. I've forgotten more about book marketing than most people will ever care to know, right? And so now I show up with Amber, and I know I'm going to show up to Amber this way, thinking, okay, we should do this and this and this and this and this, and in certain cases we're like lockstep, and in other cases it's like she is capable, she has the authority, competence, and track record. I can't even tell you how many bestsellers, how many people have hired her to write, to be like, you're wrong, here's why, which she does very kindly. Some project coaches, like, the Ironman coach, it's a project, right? Like, I'm going to hire, right? I mean, you've done an Ironman. Yeah. Like, it makes a lot of sense why people hire an Ironman coach, right? And so that's the important thing. You have to understand that whatever your next obstacle or whatever the next thing you're building is, whatever the next thing that you have to tackle, you have to match. You have to match the right type of person, the right type of expertise. It's got to be synchronous, right? It's got to be like, if you're one of the 1% that can do it with information, read the book, and then show up and ace the test, like that's awesome. But like, you're going to need so much more than that.
Man, I love that. Okay, so let me take the conversation in a different direction. As somebody who's in organizational leadership, You're leading for a long period of time, which means you're going to experience at some point, at multiple points, exceptional levels of pain. That's going to be pain from relationships. That's going to be pain from failure. That's going to be pain from personal, from professional, fill in the blank. And you have to still move things forward, because if you don't, everything gets worse, right?
Yeah.
And you have to be able to move people forward. Walk me through a season of life where you have had to navigate exceptional pain and still performed and hopefully not come out the other side with too much residue from it.
Yeah. So, and this is, you know, I had a feeling you were going here, because you guys have been, you know, my shoulders to cry on for, you know, what we, and I'm going to say we, because it feels really, really, really unfair, for me to say just me, because, you know, reeling from this tragedy that I'll share and I'll describe here. This was probably one of the most tragic, terrible, moments of my life. And I'm referring to August 2024. My very, very, very dear friend, John Rulin, who has been, he was never a coach to me, but boy, did he introduce me to a lot of like, I've never met anybody as elegant and savvy and tactful and generous as John, who was just able to, like, we would call it snowball up. So John's story is he was this goat milking farm boy, who his pastoral friend, youth pastor, was like, hey, you know, you're on injury leave, right? He was working at a large cable internet company, and he fell off a ladder and went on leave, and he wasn't too excited about getting back up on the ladder. So his youth pastor's like, would you ever want to try selling Cutco? And you know,
yeah.
John was the kind of like, yeah, what's Cutco, right? Like, like, yes, what?
Yeah. I'm in. What are we doing?
Yeah. That's exactly right. So him and I actually launched as sales reps on the exact same day. So not the same training class. We didn't know this, but it was you know, June 10th, year 2000, and so providentially we're always very, very bonded and connected by the Cutco thing. And so I went to dabble in the leadership vertical and build all this, and John became not just the number one Cutco sales representative of all time. You know, I would describe John as unbeaten, unscored upon. Like they had to take.
Goat. He's the goat.
He's the goat.
The goat, bro.
Yeah.
Like the goat. And his company Giftology, which you know, he was often referred to as the goat of gifting, because like, and it's really funny, by the way, getting to be like really, really close to John and masterminding with him and having this just incredible, you know, periphery and vision into the business and so forth. Like, people would assume that a gifting company, like the job of a gifting company is like you and the elves and the Oompa Loompas sit around, and it's like everybody's whistling, and it's like, get the wrapping paper, right? Like,
yeah,
you know, like totally not at all what it's like, right? Like what this organization is it's a relationship agency. And you know, I can go deep into that, but going back to your question, so John has had this incredible, profound impact on my life. He's written the book Giftology.
It's right there.
He's
front and center on there. There it is.
There it is. Is this the hardcover?
Yeah.
This is the hardcover version. When it first came out, how I got introduced to John was there was a Cutco knife on the cover, on the soft cover. So my introduction to John was, you know, hey, I think you should meet this guy. He's really supporting the Cutco brand, and obviously you know him as the number one rep. And hey, this is Mike Monroe, and digital strategy manager, all those things. So I connect with John immediately. We do a podcast, and the funny thing about John, he was a great gifter. He really was, but he was I've never seen anybody probably better at forgiving and apologizing.
Wow.
And so we did a podcast together. And I had heard all about John Ruhlin's lavish gifts and like stuff he'd done. So I grew up in the town next over from John Lee Dumas, JLD, who does Entrepreneur on Fire. Really big, thought leader, which again, a term I hate, but sorry, John. But the idea is I heard that when Ruhlin was on John Lee Dumas's podcast, that Ruhlin bought him like an infrared sauna, right? Like a $2,000, $3,000. So here's the problem. When you have that as your brand, and now like, all right, Mike, ready to do a podcast. I wasn't expecting anything, but it kind of was. Kind of was, right? So we do a great thing. We sell a bunch of books, and a long period of time later, he Facebook messages me, which, it pissed me off. Because if you Facebook message me, what does that mean? It means you didn't save my cell phone number.
Yeah, that's the only way you know how to get a hold of me.
Yeah, it's the only way you know how to get a hold of me, which meant you didn't think my cell phone number was worth saving. So I remember getting this message, and he pinged me. He was Cutco trained, baby, so he knew how to follow up, right? So I remember walking out one again, work from home, right? I see Kaylee, she's at the table. I'm like, John Ruhlin pinged me today. She's like, oh, cool, like. Because she had read Giftology. She's like, this is a really good book. We started actually doing the John talks about setting a percentage of like beyond tithing. If you're right, like a percentage to like just bless relationships and give us. We started doing that. We loved it. We got some really, really, really cool stories from it. But at the time I was like, I don't know what he wants. She's like, well, didn't you ask? I'm like, screw that guy. I didn't say screw, by the way. I was very, very expletive and I'm like, he didn't save my number. Yeah. I'm Mike Monroe.
Do you know who I am?
Do you know who I am? Do you know how important I am? You should save my number. So anyway, my wife, soldier mindset. My wife's like, I think you should probably have a conversation with her. I think sorry to, right? Like seems like a thing seems like a thing to do. So anyway, we have a conversation and in that conversation, because I don't do well with resentment. I'm just like, hey, just so you know, right? And he just took it and he just did what I've seen him do many, many times since then. And it wasn't even his, right? Like it's a book launch. Like I didn't know at the time. Like, of course, like I was one of 1,000 stops. It's not his fault. Like it was chaotic. And he's just like, I'm so sorry. So you better believe I have your number saved for now and forevermore. In fact, I'll even put it in as Mikey, because you'll be the only Mikey in my phone, which, so that's what he always called me. He always called me Mikey. And he'd always call me and he'd say the same thing. He'd go, Mikey, what am I interrupting? Which I really appreciated because the answer was always something. The answer is if you're not a scheduled call, I probably don't want to talk to you. But I like you too much. So I'm going, right? Like, so every time. So John and I had a special relationship, and some of the things we had the opportunity to do and to think and to thought leader through. I say thought leader through because when you're in that industry as a thought leader and an influencer, there is inherent systematic incentive to kind of live in a very superficial, narcissistic. John was not. He was the person in that industry that like his yes meant yes, his no meant no, and he was somehow like walked through the sludge and the mud. And especially being exposed to this now, I know like the amount of people, Joe Polish always says this, he's like the amount of people that post bull crap on the internet to give the perception of success and wealth is absolutely positively nauseating. And that too has washed that cynicism into me.
Sure.
And so I've had the fortunate position of I'm not saying John had yes men. If anything, he probably didn't because he was so relationally driven and authentic and vulnerable and all those things. But I was kind of his anti-yes man. I was always the guy, you know, Mikey, what am I interrupting? Da 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 da. Tell me why this is a bad idea, right? And there were multiple times where I treated what he said like a jump to conclusions mat. Like if you've ever seen the movie Office Space, like it's a mat with conclusions you can jump to. I'm like, this idea is horrible, right? Like just not kind. And by the way, I when he hit it out of the park, I would tell him. And there were times where I'm like, you know, like he named his membership and coaching service. The original name, he's like, you know, we should call it an acronym, you know, something like RICH. I'm like, that's the dumbest name. Like, leave the title. Like, let me tell you what to right.
You're acting as a scout.
Yeah. I was acting as a scout. That's exactly right.
Reminds me of when Richard Branson he was talking about this, and nobody wanted to tell him no, and so they launched Virgin condoms. Turns out, didn't work out so well.
Didn't work out.
Not in that category.
Yeah, it strikes me as an inherent contradiction. Yeah. So anyway, long story short, John's, you know, thriving membership community is named Rich, and it's brilliant, and it stands for a thing. And so I was there were multiple times where I'd come before him and you know, hey buddy, you were right, I was wrong, which I'd always be very, very public about, because when you're that kind of, you know, that kind of role with that. So it's August 2024, and that night he was on vacation with his family, his wife, the extended family. So his wife's sister was there. The guy who you know, convinced me to get an Oura ring, and we would oftentimes go back and forth on health data and encourage each other in our health journeys. He went in from the pool and he collapsed, and he didn't wake up. There are moments like when my grandmother and grandfather died, you knew it was coming. Sad, terrible, you love them, so your heart breaks. You knew it was coming. There are stories where you know, you go to your high school reunion or you see the Facebook post and it's like the kid that you haven't talked to in 15 or 20 years. Something happened to his wife or this or a diagnosis with terminal, right? And it's like, it's heartbreaking because there is the like, he's so young, he's my age. It like, there's this real sense of mortality of like, it could be. So I've had that happen. I've had this happen. I have never had both happen. I've never experienced that. And I can tell, I want to go back to we, not me, that a lot of people, based on his celebration of life, which was in St. Louis, and people just came from all over the world. It reminds me, it was about as close as I imagine you could ever get to the Tim McGraw song that you introduced me to, Standing Room Only. It was so beautiful and so tragic and such a reminder. And so, going back to your original question, I was part of the organization and the group that helped, like, do we still have a company? Right? Like his team put on the celebration of life, and there was a real sense of like, I mean, I don't know how many times they got asked, like, so what are you gonna, right? Like, I mean, like, what was the phrase you used originally when you asked the question? The question of like, when
how do you continue to lead and influence and encourage and cast vision and all the leadership things when you know that the people that you're working with are like, they have to move forward, you have to move forward, and there's so much just despair, but you're a leader?
Yeah. The answer is I still don't know. I still don't know. There's no playbook. But one thing I can say very, very confidently is it is probably made possible only through faith. In particular, the idea that God makes no mistakes and God knows everything that's coming. I want to, I don't want to stay away from the God makes no mistakes, because it's I'm sure there's people, and they lose people, that get very angry with God, rightfully so. And God's big enough to take that, right? Like, you can shoulder that. But for me, it was really the space of God. God knew and had every inkling and know-how. And so I'll give you an example of this. I want to say it was 2022. John and my conversations started to kind of take a different flavor. And one of the things that I communicated with John very, very regularly was this idea of, you don't want to be Martha Stewart. You want to be Martha Stewart Enterprises. You want to be the Martha Stewart that IPO'd. You want to be the Martha Stewart, like, you want to, like, you're loved, you're powerful, you are an engine, no one can do what you do. And if you're the major cog in the machine, you're the major clog in the machine. And so in 2022, I started using a phrase to try to drive into him, which was JNN, which was John Not Needed.
Right.
And so I would, if he, Mikey, question about, my team and this and that, and they want to do this, so what about JNN? And he'd like, so what would you do? I'm like, do you trust him? Then go right. Like, and this is part of the, like, John built an incredible company. Yeah. But if he was still with us, he would be at the apex. This is why he had a business partner, Rod, who deals in enterprise level stuff. Like there would have been a skill set jump necessary to go to, and they were doing it. Yeah. They were doing it. And part of this was this concept of John Not Needed, where it was like, open up a vertical of your business where you are totally a spectator. And in fact, one of the most powerful moments I've ever had in business, and you hear founders say stuff like this too, where one of the most life-changing moments in a founder's company is when they're walking through the hall of the company, and they see two people, one of whom they don't know, and they're talking about fixing problems in the company. Yeah. Like, that is a moment of, like, wow, like, that's the I made it moment, right? Like, holy cow. So John and I are talking about this, and it's like, create this vertical, and he gets this, little college intern on his team, a gal named Sarah Hardwick, mega talent, the definition of catch and release, meaning just so bright, so good, so impressive, like, prominent position in her sorority, started a nonprofit or 5 or whatever. Like, I don't even know, right? Like, just super, like, just buttoned up, talented, smart. And so now she builds out this membership community. The membership community being this thing where it's like let's see if people would actually join a gifting community. And I think the mandate or the aspirational goal in her first summer, which I think people were anticipating were going to be her only summer, because it's like, go back to your senior year, you'll have something to do. It was like, maybe we can get 30 people in this thing, right? Yeah. And 287 people later, right? And hey, what'd you learn in your internship? I learned I'm not going anywhere, right? Wow. Right. Like, that was the one of the things there. So, prior to John passing, there was the entire rich relationship society that had been built in a place of John not needed. And this was in conjunction with him writing his second book.
Right.
And you can only, going back to your question, as a leader, you can only look at that and either everything in life is a coincidence or nothing is. And if you believe that nothing is, then there's a divine creator who is architecting and who's setting and taking care of taking care of the people who are right.
Yeah.
And so I look at those moments, which were so ridiculous and improbable that Sarah got hired, improbable of JNN, improbable, and like probably 100 things I don't even know about, right?
Sure.
Like this story is not about me whatsoever. I look at all those things and I derive strength because it almost feels like and I don't want to put words in Rod's mouth or the giftology team, but there's this real sense of like, if you're not on mission now, if you avoid the mission and the pain and the challenge,
Yeah.
it's like Jonah running away to get eaten by the whale. Like, it is clear what you are here to do.
He lived for this, he died for this, and we are the legacy. And let's go.
Yes. And here's the great thing about, and here's the rallying cry with John, and we, like, so many people said this, and then they said it at Celebration of Life. It was never about glory of John. It was always about glory to God, and this is how we lived the mission.
Just thinking about, all of the things you talked about with developing people, and then how you help that organization develop their people, not knowing how important it was going to be. And then just to watch you love and lead in this last season, because we've been able to kind of share in this journey, not nearly to the level that you have had to go through, but it's just really a testament to your leadership and to your, it makes me think like, with John, it's like, he loved God first. And then the second piece of that, from everything I know about him from you and talking to him a couple of times, is he served people.
Everything you said is accurate, and I am grossly underselling it, not for any strategic or communicative reason, but just the fact that I don't know if there's enough time to be able to, like, I don't even know if I have the words to give people the feel. But I think in that note, going back to two things can be true. First thing is the book is going to launch. The company is going to win.
Yeah.
The company is going to do well. The mission is going to live on. It's going to be stronger than ever. And so, John not needed. But on the other hand, like, guys like John will always be needed.
Yeah.
And I think at this point of human history, where tribalism and polarization and algorithms and technology are eating the world, and we haven't seen anything yet. We haven't even made AI that can think for itself yet. That's coming. Let's add some supercomputers to that. And that's going to be fun. And we're in the greatest experiment in human history, which is, for many, 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 many years, let's give humans and children screens that are architecturally engineered and developed to keep their attention and reward their dopamine through simple clicks.
Sure.
Let's design companies that have attention engineers meant to keep people online on this screen for as long as possible so we can sell advertising. And let's, if I'm the executives of that company, let's actually discourage my own children from using this technology because we know how absolutely insanely dopamine destroying it is.
Yeah.
I think in that world and in that environment, not to sound dystopian, I think that relationship is alive and well and more important than ever.
Yeah.
And John is one of many messengers, and more so than anything, I hope his message lives on.
Yeah. Well, one of the things, I guess just to wrap up with, is I know that you were instrumental in bringing the thoughts that he had put after giftology together. And I believe there's a book that's coming out that John wrote that you were instrumental in putting together. You want to give us a sneak peek?
I love marketing. I can do commercials. I can do commercials. So Books are a great example of the first layer of transformation, which is knowing what to do, but completely can't interact with a book, right? So first book, Giftology, incredible job of teaching what to do when it comes to like, hey, you should take gifting seriously. This is what makes good gifts. This is what makes bad gifts. The second book is called Beyond Giftology. And the cover is a testimony to relationships take you to places up and to the right. And it's also a very, people have referred to it as the stairway of heaven or stairway to heaven, which I like. And I like that. You got the black book, Giftology, the white book, Beyond Giftology. But the idea is this is the book that teaches people how to earn endless word of mouth through the transformation of referral partners. And so there's a lot of literature out there about how to get referrals, how to ask for referrals. A lot of the content is exactly that. Ask again, ask more, show up to the network meetings, do these things, right? Just got to get your foot in the door. Father-in-law advice. You just gotta get your name out there, son. Like, go out there, right? Yeah, but that's not the artsy way of doing it. That's not how John did it. It's not how John did it. It's not how John went from, goat milking farm boy to falling off a ladder to selling knives to skip some steps, but private jets with billionaires and. Yeah, I'm excited for the book. I'm excited for the book launch. I'm excited for really the message because it teaches the system of like, here is how to create ROR, which we all know what ROI is. Very, very transactional. I put in $1, I get back $1.40. But the thing that's so great about ROR is it might not be 1.4x, might not be 2x. Return on relationship could be 10x.
Sure.
Could be 100x.
Infinite.
Yeah.
Could literally be infinite. Could be life-changing. Could be soul-changing.
Yeah.
Like, could be the conversation, introduced me to the person who had the conversation that changed everything, that led me to Jesus, that led me, right? Like relationships. And I say this as a 10,000-hour marketer and salesperson. I've done my time in both those worlds. I say this as hands down, relationships take you places that marketing can't. Takes you place that sales can't. Relationships take you place that management can't. Relationships take you place that contracts, threats, and fears, and quotas, and all the things, and incentives, and do this, get that kind of programs, all those things.
Yeah.
Relationships trump them all. It's not who you know. It's who you know, who likes you, who trusts you, who will introduce you.
Thank you, man. I appreciate you being here.
Yep, this is great.
Yes.
Thanks, buddy. Always a pleasure.
Thanks.
All right, everybody, thanks for listening to the Sherpa Leadership Podcast. If this episode inspired you, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, or share with your favorite leader. For more tools and resources, you can go to SherpaConsultingGroup.com. Remember that leadership is a journey and every step you take matters. We'll see you next time.
Take care, guys.